Well, hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Holly with the Nestle Dolly Farmhouse, and today we're going to do some productive fall autumn homemaking. So it has been, we finally got our cow. I guess it's been a couple weeks now, and I just haven't been able to get to making the tallow yet. So today we're going to be making tallow. We're going to be picking apples. I'm actually going to be making some applesauce with just some homemade applesauce, using up the apples that are less than best for the like to just eat. And so yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot today. I kind of want to talk about like how I try to stay productive when, especially in the fall season. Like I said, I'd say fall is probably my most busiest season. I think it's a little bit busier than spring, but of course spring can be really busy too. It just seems like spring and then summer we're busy in a different way. We're not necessarily working on our property or working with like either raising chickens or harvesting food. We're normally off adventuring. We're really big on camping. We're really big on going on adventures. When my husband and I got married, that was one thing that we would not compromise on. We still go on trips. Most of them are like long weekend, or even just like a Friday, Saturday night weekend, and we just go take the kids on little adventures. It's always been kind of important to us to have that. So basically it is fall time and everything has kind of calmed down from summer and school starting, and I'm really starting to feel the rhythms, which is really helpful. This year was harder than it has been in the past, but I feel like I'm finally starting to get into the rhythm. So the first thing I'm gonna be doing today is I got to get this tallow in my crock pot. So the easiest way I make tallow is to, first of all, you get your big chunks of fat, and they gave me way more than I needed. So I ended up, my chickens were very happy, I ended up getting some, and our outdoor cats got a few, I got a little bit of it too. And so anyway, long story short is I trim off, you got to trim off all the muscle pieces. And this particular chunk of fat was just kind of hard because there was just a lot of muscle pieces. So you kind of trim off anything that's not just plain white fat. And then I normally pulse it in my food processor for a few pulses to kind of get it to, it kind of breaks it down. They say you want it to look like almost kind of like popcorn, which I thought was kind of odd, but it kind of makes sense. But basically you want to break it down as much as you can because you're going to render it in the crock pot. It normally takes about 6 hours, I think, in my estimation. They say like 6 to 8 hours, but by the time my crock pot got to 6 hours, it was really bubbly and boiling, and you don't want to like burn it, so it's kind of hard to like gauge. And I know if you did it in like a low like simmer pot, you can do it I think a little bit longer as long as you keep the temperature down. But of course I don't have the control over the temperature in my crock pot, so I just did for 6 hours. So we are kind of getting to the tail end of harvest season, so to speak. I'm trying to kind of clean up all of the loose ends, so to speak, and kind of some ways that I try to keep myself productive. And I've talked about this in the past, but I just want to reiterate some. And these are all kind of my quote unquote tips and tricks, but I'm sure other people have similar ones. And so first is I kind of schedule things. So with our beef, it kind of got a little bit, the schedule, it came a little sooner than I was expecting. And so it kind of took me a couple like weeks to finally get to where I can work on the tallow. So I threw it in the freezer. Luckily enough, we had enough space, but my freezer is chock full with my third cow. I'm so excited. But basically I schedule things. I try to schedule things to just make sure that I'm getting them done. So, and another thing that I've started doing this year is I am actually trying to do some more on my front porch. I want to add in a few more fun things because I think it's too often that you just get really overwhelmed with like all the things you got to do. And like I said, we've had to, make some choices, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but basically, we've made some choices, kind of simplified some things because we just weren't able to do it all. As much as I would love to, live completely off the land and enjoy like raising our own animals and all that stuff. And that's stuff that we might do in the future. Just this current season I'm in, it's just, this is all that I can handle. So number 2 is adding in like fun things. Like we are doing I bought some mums from the store, and I'm kind of adding a little vignette in my little front corner area with these mums. And then I'm pretty sure they're mums. Yes, they're mums. And then when we go to the pumpkin patch in a few weeks, or I guess it's probably gonna be like a week, we are going to add the pumpkins around it and just kind of give it a little bit of fall flair. I love having beautiful things around me in fall, and I'm really enjoying kind of having a few more fun things. So working on the tallow again, like I said, I scheduled this. It ended up being towards the end of September, and I'm okay with that. So I've been kind of canning, and I've been kind of just, how do I put it? So same thing, I scheduled when I was supposed to take these apples off the tree, but unfortunately it was actually a few days later, but they are perfectly ripe right now. They're ready to go, and I am excited because this is the first year we've had like decent sized apples. Last year we got a bunch, but they were like small, like the size of maybe, not quite tennis ball size, smaller than that, but these ones are like tennis ball or bigger, and so I was very excited. So basically, number one, I schedule things kind of literally, I'll literally write on like this Saturday, this needs to be done. This Saturday, this needs to be done. It really helps keep me on task. Number two, I add fun things I like to do, like going to the pumpkin patch. That's always going to be something we're going to do unless it becomes unaffordable, which unfortunately seems to be more and more the case for a lot of people. But we go, we get pumpkins, we do something fun. So my third thing, and maybe this is the most important thing, is I have really this year tried to be more realistic and also tried to simplify things. So I had every intention of canning a bunch of stuff. I was going to buy a bunch of produce from our local, the bulk produce farm. And unfortunately, just a lot of the stuff, like the prices were too much. Like I said, like peaches were $36. Literally the first week, they were $50 the week that I bought them. I ended up buying a flat because we don't have any peach trees. And so I just decided that I was only going to do one flat of peaches. So here's me out here grabbing my garden, and I'm just picking a few vegetables. So basically, like this garden this year, I am probably going to try to add one more raised bed, but that is it. I love my little carrots. They're so silly and small, but I decided to pick them because they're pretty much, the greens were just getting so big. So this is why you need to have an apron, folks. It makes it easier to go grab a few things out of your garden. So as you can see, I have a few more zucchinis that I need to prep, and I actually had a recipe to use up all these tomatoes, and I made it's called lazy lasagna. It's like a lasagna dish, and I made it with the homemade tomatoes, and it was absolutely delicious. And then of course, I always try to make sure in my scheduling, I'm going to make sure I keep up with my regular chores. Like today I need to do one load of laundry. I've actually started just kind of doing one load of laundry most days of the week. Like Monday I might do two, but I do laundry Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't do any laundry. And I feel like that's really helped keep things organized, because if I just keep it in little chunks, it's manageable for me. So back to point number 3, talking about being more, I guess, realistic maybe isn't the right word, but basically I've really simplified this year. Like this is just going to be a year where I'm trying to get as much out of my garden and preserve what I already have. So as you can see, I had a bunch of those squashes, the yellow squash, and I'm going to probably can a few more of those in the future. I kind of feel like they're something that I don't normally use, but my goal is to use them and put them in soups, and that's the way I'm going to use them up. I'm trying to use every little bit that I have. Hence why I asked for the fat from the cow, so that I can make sure that I am also using up as much as I want. I also got a bunch of soup bones too, which is really nice. So swapping over laundry, I had one more extra load to do today. And look at my sunflowers. I brought some inside because they were just so cute. So I really feel like simplifying things has really helped me to just beat the overwhelm. So I have not been able to can each weekend like I planned to, but like I said, things got busy. We actually ended up having an unexpected trip I will tell you guys about probably in a future video, and we ended up kind of changing plans. So like just trying to be flexible, and it just wasn't going to work out this year. So I kind of feel like overall I haven't really gotten as much done as I wanted to, but I'll be honest, I feel like I've learned more and I've worked with more of what I have, if that makes sense. So right now I'm going to make some applesauce with the apples. As you can see, we had some apples that did get worms in them. So you can use those apples. You just have to cut out all the bad stuff, but they are edible still. So I just decided to make a batch of applesauce, and I found a good like old-fashioned recipe for it. And so that was really nice. And so I feel like I've gotten more creative. So I guess that's another thing, is you can just get creative and kind of focus on what you have and how to make work what you have. Like I said, I like yellow zucchini, yellow squash, and so I'm going to can some more because I'm going to use it in soups. I make soups pretty much every week in the fall, winter, even the spring, because I love them. They're easy to make, and I normally make them with like some bread buns, or I've learned how to make garlic knots from scratch, and it's really fun, and I just feel like it helps me kind of grow and learn to be more creative in my baking and cooking. So this recipe, I totally wrote down because it was so good. And if I do eventually get a chance to get some apples from the bulk food place that are reasonable, because sometimes at the end of the season they can be a little bit cheaper, then I want to make a bunch of apple pie filling and apple sauces again. But at this point, I'm not sure if we're going to do that, just because we're really focusing on keeping ourselves on, like, kind of, we have some financial goals we want to hit, and we're trying to keep ourselves on task, if that makes sense. So I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed this recipe. It was super simple, and I really enjoyed I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed kind of being a little creative, and it's really easy. It was, I don't know how many apples I did, but it's 4 apples, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and then I think it's like a teaspoon of cinnamon, or a 1/2 teaspoon. I ended up tripling the recipe because I had that many apples. And then you bake it till they're soft, and then you use a potato masher and you mash them down. And honestly, it turned out so good. It was and just I don't know if it just was the fact that the apples were from my garden that made it so good, but they tasted amazing. So I'm throwing these in the fridge real quick to cool down for the little kids, because they're probably not gonna like it too hot. But yeah, so I feel like, I've gotten a lot done. I feel like I've been a lot more productive than I thought I was going to be at the beginning of September, because it was pretty rough. So I'm just finishing up my tallow. So what I do is, after it's done, as you can see, there's still a lot of like crumbles in it. I'm not going to worry about it because I have so much, but I double layered the cheesecloth, and I used a hair tie to hold it onto the funnel, because you want to keep it from coming off and spilling all the crumbles into your jar. And then, yeah, it just kind of strains into the jars. And then it's really yellow at first, and then after it cools, it turns white. So I ended up, all in all, I think I got 4 pint jars and 1/2 pint jar of tallow, which was very exciting. So thanks for coming along with me as I try to stay productive and hopefully finish out this harvest season strong. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.